And you're watching Interface here on SABC3. A very good evening to you. My name is Tembi Samachele. My guest tonight is the Deputy President of the ANC and the country, Kgalema Motlanthe, and we're talking about a variety of issues ranging from the state of the ANC, the upcoming conferences, and some of the burning challenges facing our country today. Remember that you can also take part in this discussion by sending us an SMS to 33726 as always, or by going onto our Facebook page, which is Interface on SABC3. Deputy President, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the program.
Well, good evening, Tembisa, and evening to your viewers.
Let's just take a look at your views on the ANC today, 100 years on. What do you think of the state of the party right now?
Well, I think, achieving the ripe age of 100 years is no mean feat in itself. But of course, we in the ANC are always self-critical because we understand that history is only of value to the extent that it gives us the lessons that enables us to understand better our current situation and therefore be in a position to map out the road into the future. Those who came before us were giants, and so we stand on the shoulders of those giants, and we can only honor them and their contributions by ensuring that we raise the levels of the organization, and particularly in relation to the tasks of solving problems of our people to higher level.
Deputy President, I mean, talking about the giants and the shoulders on which you stand, these days, in recent times, we've seen an unprecedented amount of negative publicity for the ANC. There's talk of factionalism, there's talk of disunity. We've seen even some of the top leaders in the organization having very public disagreements. Is your party in crisis?
No, we don't think we are in crisis, precisely because the ANC describes itself as an omnibus. What that means is we have people of all schools of political thought, and therefore on any matter under discussion, we proceed from different starting points, and it is through debate and discussion that consensus is arrived at.
But isn't it ANC culture to have that debate and have all of those discussions within and then present a united front? Of late, we're seeing even the members of the top six, yourself included, having very different stances in the public arena.
No, we have public platforms at our disposals as leadership of the ANC, and we are called upon on an ongoing basis to address different fora, and it all depends on the focus or theme of the fora that each one of us addresses on an ongoing basis. But for some reason that is quite inexplicable, the ANC has explained umpteen times that it will announce the point at which branches of the ANC will nominate candidates for leadership. And that announcement will be made in October. But for some reason, the media people and commentators believe that every word that is pronounced is part and parcel of an election campaign.
But surely you can't blame South Africans in general and those commentators in particular for speculating, because this is the run-up to Mangaung in December.
Well, all I'm saying is nobody knows at this point in time who the branches will nominate. Our names have been thrown into this pot and so on, we may not even be nominated by branches at all.
So the assertion that...
So the point I'm making is that the speculations are baseless, and I suppose they keep people busy. But I think it is not helpful to attach maneuverings and all kinds of sinister motives on pronouncements made by individual members or leaders of the ANC.
So are you saying that the assertions that you've now thrown your hat into the ring as a contender, as it were, based on some of the utterances that you have made in recent times, that that's not really the truth, it's not an expression of your intentions?
No, I mean, I have no illusion whatsoever. That is why I'm explaining to you the ANC processes. I was once Secretary General.
Yes. And
I know that the processes commence at branch level. Mm-hmm. It is the branches which nominate, candidates. And an electoral committee collates all of that information. And it is only when you are approached by the electoral committee asking you either to accept nomination or decline that it's then given to you to express your view with regards to issues of leadership. Otherwise, prior to that, it's all speculation, it's all without any basis.
So if you were approached, would you avail yourself for such a position?
I will respond to the question once it is posed by the electoral committee at the right time. Yeah.
Do you think that the fact that you've served in the ANC as Secretary General under former President Thabo Mbeki, and the fact that you've been caretaker president of the country at some point and are now Deputy President of both the party and the country, do you think that holds you in good stead to be able to take up the reins should the need arise? No,
not at all. Not at all, because as I said, the reason there's a policy conference is for members to debate policy questions, and a report would emerge out of this policy conference that's to commence on Tuesday. And that report would be made public. It would be sent back to the structures of the ANC, the branches, including the leagues, for them to debate those questions further and use the report as basis of drafting resolutions which would be presented to the elective conference. And at the elective conference itself, conference will break into commissions to debate those issues even further. And it is only once conference, the elective conference, adopts those resolutions as amended or enriched, whatever the case may be, that they then become policy of the ANC. And once they are policy, they are binding on all members.
So having explained the process, Deputy President...
And so at that point,
yes,
the membership, remember every conference of the ANC consists of minimum 90% of the voting delegates are branch delegates. They come from branches. The National Executive Committee and the leadership of the leagues and the leagues are accommodated within the remaining 10% of the voting delegates at conference.
Okay, so before I take a quick break, because I have to go to break, I just want to find this out. Are you saying, therefore, that the support that the Youth League has expressed publicly for you as the next president of the ANC doesn't count because of the process that you've explained?
Yes, it doesn't count at all. They know it themselves because for purposes of nominations, the ANC has 12 branches, 12 provinces. Because you see, the branches nominate, it then gets consolidated at regional level and at provincial level. Now, the leagues, the Women's League, the Youth League, the Veterans League, are all treated as provinces for purposes of nomination. So there will be 12 provinces submitting nominations. anybody who speaks about nomination now does so really because of ill discipline.
Are you hoping the branches will nominate you?
No, not at all. I'm just grateful that they've given me the privilege to serve as a leader. Yeah.
On that point, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion with the Deputy President of the ANC and the country, Kgalema Motlanthe. Do stay with us. Welcome back to Interface here on SABC3. My guest tonight is the Deputy President of the country and the ANC, Kgalema Motlanthe. Now, sir, one of the reasons why there's all of this talk about you putting your name out there for the leadership race is because of this thing that we're hearing a lot of late, and that's called the second transition. Everybody's speculating about what this is and what you have said in support or in, against that. Can you just clarify for us, what is the second transition?
Well, for the policy conference, several discussion documents were prepared by the various subcommittees of the National Executive Committee. The Economic Transformation Subcommittee, the LNG, the Social Transformation Subcommittee, Political Education Subcommittee, and so on. So there's a whole range of different discussion documents. Now, those discussion documents go through the National Executive Committee. And the National Executive Committee looks at them not with the view of adopting them. It does not adopt them. It only looks at them to check as to whether they suffice to generate discussions. If once the NEC is satisfied that, yes, indeed, these document will generate and elicit discussions, they are then distributed to the structures of the ANC for discussions, because the idea is that delegates who come to the policy conference should have discussed and debated issues that are going to serve before the conference, and bring with them enriched views from the structures. And of course, they come with open minds.
But this is one of the contentious ones of the 13 documents.
They come with open minds to persuade and be persuaded at the policy conference. And so this document on the second transition is one among the many discussion documents.
But what I'm saying, Deputy President, is that on the one hand, you've got the architects of this document and the President of the Republic backing it openly and saying everybody needs to listen to what this document has to say. And you're quoted as having questioned it, saying, what is the second transition? What was the first one to begin with? Is that a true reflection of your views?
It's part of the debates. The debates will take place in the policy conference. It's not, as I said, it's not adopted policy. It's for debate. It's meant to generate debates. There will be debates at the policy conference.
I understand that. But what is your issue with that document, that particular document?
I was raising the issue of language, that an organization such as the ANC has got to ensure that it employs language and vocabulary that would not be subject to multiplicity of interpretation, so that the positions it seeks to convey should be conveyed in the language and vocabulary that would be understood. In other words, the essence of what is being conveyed should be understood without there being any, multiplicity of interpretation, as I've said. Now, there are words that have scientific meaning, which if you just throw them in documents, they are likely to be interpreted in many ways. And of course, you see, we have identified 5 priorities when we got into this administration. We said we'll have 5 priorities as government: education, health, job creation, fight against crime and corruption, land reform, rural development, and land reform. These are our 5 priorities. Mm-hmm. We have also, in government, adopted the new growth path. We are also busy. The National Planning Commission is creating and crafting a plan for all of South Africa, a long-term plan. So all of these processes, the ANC's policy debates have to contribute to these processes with clarity, not in a language and terms that may be interpreted in various ways.
And I'm in fact interested in your contribution to this debate.
This is the point I was making.
Yes.
And it has since been interpreted by analysts and all manner of commentators as, because they don't even go through the context of the lecture itself. They simply locate this in what they see as a contest.
So clarify for us, Deputy President, besides the language issue that you were raising, do you support this document?
No, the document doesn't need to be supported. It's a discussion document. It needs to be debated.
Are you in agreement with it in this debate?
Which debate?
There are some, like COSATU, who are saying this document goes against the very grain of what the ANC is about. Well, would you agree with that?
Well, COSATU would have debated it. We are going to debate it in the policy conference. In the NEC, we have said it is sufficient to generate debates. We were going to debate that at the policy conference.
Did you call the document Marxist?
No, I didn't. I was dealing with the language that the importance of ensuring that the vocabulary that we use conveys exactly what we want to convey. And that sometimes if you just throw in concepts and terms which can be interpreted in various ways, you are likely to perhaps generate more heat than clarity.
Yeah.
My emphasis was on ensuring that we always communicate the message correctly and accurately.
We touched on COSATU, but let's look at the tripartite alliance as a whole, the state of that alliance at the moment. Many saying it's in disarray, and that's been said about the alliance over the years many times. What do you make of the state of the alliance as it stands now?
Well, you know, the alliance is a unique structure, homegrown South African structure. And it's very possible that you would find individuals who are the very embodiment of this alliance, in that they are workers who are in trade unions that are affiliated to COSATU. They are also members of the African National Congress and members of the South African Communist Party at once. And so they know how to remain loyal to each component of the alliance. And so if people think that the alliance will break up and so on, well, my understanding is that that's really a dreamer's dream.
Is it ideal, though, to have people that are members of all 3 at some point, or 2 of these organizations that are part of the alliance? Shouldn't an SACP member, for example, just be a representative of SACP and not be part of the ANC or COSATU?
Well, these 3 component organizations represent different interests, as it were. workers in the work milieu are organized into trade unions. And they will raise issues very sharply in defense of the interests of working people.
Yes.
The Communist Party is a party for socialism. They say they want to build socialism. The African National Congress is a national liberation movement. That is why it is home to all strata and classes. We have hard-nosed capitalists in the ANC, as well as dyed-in-the-wool communists in the ANC. So we have all these different schools of thought. That is why the ANC adopts policy after debates, thoroughgoing debates. And once it adopts a policy position, that is an approximation of the consensus of all these component parts.
We've got to take another short break, Deputy President, but before we do, just a quick one. Have you questioned the role of the SACP in the alliance as reported?
No. Again, I mean, it's a total misunderstanding. How it happens is really beyond me. The point I was making was as follows, that the South African Communist Party and its predecessor, the Communist Party of South Africa, had a policy of training its members. And those members of the African National Congress, who were at the same time members of the Communist Party, brought into the ANC their training. And the ANC benefited enormously out of this relationship. This is the point I was making. And I cited an example from a book entitled The Autobiography of an Unknown South African, Naboth Mokhatle, who describes how they were trained in 1943, not now. In 1943, they were brought into a school. They trained at the same time as the late Harry Gwala from Pietermaritzburg by the Communist Party. And they then went on to, having benefited from training, organize unions and be loyal members of the African National Congress. This is the point I was making. I then posed the question that today the ANC conducts political education classes, but primarily on topical issues. If it is the time of CODESA, they will, of course, conduct classes on negotiations and negotiation strategies.
Unfortunately,
and the South African Communist Party does the same.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was the point you were making.
That was the point I was making.
All right, Deputy President, we continue the discussion with you after this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back to the last segment of Interface here on SABC3, talking to Deputy President Kgalema Motlanthe. So just in closing, unemployment is a big issue in South Africa. There's a lot of restlessness and frustration that none of the policy documents and policy initiatives that your party has put through are working. We're talking GEAR, ASGISA, RDP, now the new growth path. What do you think is the solution?
Well, the levels of unemployment are an emergency situation and therefore call for extraordinary measures for us to crack that problem. And it is not possible to crack it solely by relying on our domestic capacity to grow the economy. We have to do so with the understanding that we must expand the economy by also encouraging South African companies to grow even bigger so that they can absorb.
But that's been said over the years, and entrepreneurship has been punted over the years, but it doesn't really seem to be getting down to, the solution at grassroots level.
Yeah.
What will you be suggesting, for example, at the upcoming policy conference?
No, at the policy conference, there are discussion documents from the Economic Transformation Committee, which speaks to this issue. There's a recognition that unemployment is a big challenge, poverty is a big challenge.
Education also.
Inequality is a big challenge. The backlogs in infrastructure are a big challenge. As I said, we have 5 priorities because there are all these competing challenges. But we felt that we must prioritize education. We must solve problems in education, in health, and fight against crime and corruption, and create jobs, as well as rural development and agrarian reform.
Those are your big priorities, Deputy President.
These are our big priorities.
South Africa, if you look at our Facebook messages and also our SMSs running through our screen, feel that you're not delivering.
Yes.
Hopefully that at the policy conference you'll be able to come up with more powerful solutions for the country. But
yes.
Unfortunately,
that is why we are harsh to ourselves. I mean, it's precisely informed by the recognition that, realization that we have to do extraordinary efforts to solve these problems.
Deputy President, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming
to
talk to us on Interface.
You're welcome.
And that's how we come to the end of our program tonight. Remember that you can continue this discussion on Interface at SABC3 on our Facebook page. Join us again next week at the same time. Till then, bye-bye.